Diverse in culture, language, and style. Nigeria's Niger Delta is home to more than 20 million people and is one of the most talked about regions on the continent. Now, its coasts are blessed. It has arable lands that feed its people and promote its commerce, but the biggest strength of the Niger Delta is also its greatest weakness: oil. Now, with oil deposits that have lasted generations and enough to last many more, the region hasn't enjoyed and experienced growth commensurate with these blessings, and development of the region has become an issue of national discourse. The development of the Niger Delta is a focal point on VSA today. Welcome, I'm Sulaiman. Nigeria's Niger Delta covers 20,000 square kilometers and makes up about 8% of the country's total land mass. The advent of oil production in the Niger Delta is perceived to be a blessing to the country, Nigeria, as petroleum returns contribute to about 90% of the country's foreign exchange earnings, 60% of its total revenue generation, and about 10% of its gross domestic product. While Nigeria soars and revels in the oil abundance of the region, standing as a continental force in oil exploration and production, the region where it all happens and its people can't boast of living a good life. Oil spills, gas flares, as you can see on television now, environmental degradation, climate change challenges, and many other hazards have led to a depletion in the quality of life of Niger Delta dwellers. The rivers have been taken over by oil, and the fishes are dying, plants struggling to survive, and the people are not in the best state, no thanks to exploration hazards in their communities. The development of the Niger Delta, despite a whole commission set up for that purpose and furnished with billions, has become almost non-existent. Joining me to look at the development and how to make the region much more better and have a better feel, looking at the Petroleum Industry Act, the NDDC, and the issues concerning the region, I have Chief Ayiri Emami, the Ologbosere of Warri Kingdom, and of course, Comrade Eyengho, who is the National Coordinator, Warri Interest Group. Gentlemen, good to have both of you here in the studios.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sulaiman.
Thank you very much, Sulaiman, for having me.
Let me start with Chief Ayiri, and one good thing is a lot of Nigerians saw you were a staunch supporter of the president. You tell us if you're still supporting the president. And the good thing is that the president has passed the much talked about, long-awaited bill into an act, the PIA. When that happened, how did you receive the news?
It was a good one. To those of us from Niger Delta, it's something that is long awaiting. And but the only discrepancy in that has to do with the percentage, and where we were expecting so much, maybe like 10%, or at least minimum 5%. But what we got was 3%, but we'll have to start from somewhere. And I think with that, it's going to be a step forward for now. I think it's good. It's a welcome development.
I'll come back to you, because I know you have conversation with people, especially the youth in that region. People are asking what their concerns are, and if this is also the same explanation you're giving to them. Let me bring in Comrade Eyengho. Comrade Alex, quickly here. For people like yourself, a lot of people have known you to be one who is always talked about the region and Warri specifically, and you and your group. This act, is it an okay act for your interest group?
Well, thank you. I would say not absolutely. When the act was passed, I received it with mixed feelings. First, it's good that it had come at last, having waited this long. But on the flip side, this is not what we expected, from it. I've taken my time to go through the act itself. It's very voluminous, over 250 something pages. I think it is still not what we expect. It should have been more of host community centric, not federal government centric, if you will. Everything about it is still more of the government, the control, the regulation, and everything is more government-centric, whereas it should be host community-centric. I think that was the intendment, of the framers, of those who conceptualized that idea. So that's why I said I received it with mixed feelings. It could have been better. It could have been much more focused on the development of the host communities, oil-producing communities, that is.
Comr, I'll come back to you, because sometimes we've had people, we had Jaro, Eyengho, and some other people also from the region, and they share similar, sentiments. But again, if you look at it, it will seem as if the region already has more than enough to pursue development in the region. You have the 13% derivation, you have the NDDC, and now we're looking at this 13%. But again, in my opening, Chief Ayiri, I was talking about environmental degradation, currently the issues affecting the Niger Delta region where you live, including the hazards of oil exploration, which you have a firm understanding of, key here. As community leader and as the Ologbosere, that's the equivalent of a prime minister in your kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Good. How do you deal with these issues when the people come to say, our land, our water has been polluted and we are in dire strait? What do you do?
There are sabotage. When you talk about pollution, there are sabotage that has been caused by us, human. They are the one by the IOCs, who are the companies operating there. So you have to differentiate the one you need to talk about in terms of environmental pollution, because the one you see day to day in some of our areas as it is today has to do with our own people, costing it with our own hand. You understand? And to me, I've been fighting against it because the damage and the effect on the human living there, some person don't understand. But why are they doing this? They are doing this because of hunger. You understand? For an instance, if you live in Escravos, which is Brodo, a community, you find it very difficult to have common petrol that you sell. And these are people from the oil producing community.
You mean petrol is scarce?
Yes, very difficult. You won't have a station, just a normal filling station that you have. You are supposed to have floating stations. Government is supposed to make provision for such things. I've been crying out for those things as a measure of way of stopping human, doing all this sabotage. You can't have diesel, you don't have light, you don't have common where you can have gas or cooking gas. So these people have no choice than to take the laws into their hand, because sometimes if you assist or you are working with the government to ensure that those things have not been done, but the question is, there's no other means. So when you fight today, sometimes you look at yourself, but the effect on us, like me, I have my resort just opposite Chevron, the 911 resort. If you come out in the morning, you cannot open your eyes because of people cooking, how do you say, at local, refineries. You understand? So polluting the air. So now, for an instance, you now see spill somewhere. Instead of you holding up to the IOC will be telling you it's not their, the cause. So these are the major problems we are fixing at the moment because there's no alternative. So maybe with this PIA, there will be a lot of alternative, and that's why I said, well, we've had nothing before. We have NDDC, but not reaching out properly to the people. And you can see when Akpabio will complain for money tonight that they must do the forensic audit before he will had this. So people use it as an excuse because those things are not working the way they are supposed to work. We have the 13% equally that is there too is not being properly managed. So for me, environmental issue now is very difficult for me to talk about because some of us are using our hand to destroy our environment, all because to feed, and you don't have to blame anybody. So the issues of environment is very difficult because I say that it is. I'll tell you how it is because sometimes I go to the community, I'll call law enforcement agents, I'll call the Navy because sometimes I used to tell everybody, I said, everybody is involved in terms of making this environment safe. In terms of what's it called, illegal bunkering, I always tell everybody that everybody too is involved, whether the military, because in a position where you have a soldier, there's a military officer, a soldier, a Navy, naval officer, you have police, you have what's it called, Nigeria Civil Defense at a checkpoint, and at the same time, the product with their vessel will pass through that same point. So that shows that everybody is involved, and you know that somebody in your community does not have a good job, but tomorrow it will come to my resort and it will spend a lot of money, and I cannot report the person because, and I know very well that this same person does not have a job. This is what he does for living, but I will not be able to report it to security agent. That means all of us are involved until we change our way. We change our way because what will suffer in the next 10 years, particularly those of us from the escravos houses. If you go there with your white clothes today, they will be all messed up because what will cost by ourselves. So to me, there are a lot we need to do. So maybe with this PIA, what is good in there, we'll take it, then we'll add now as the government to improve. But there are major problems in this PIA that have just been signed into law because when you say host community, who are the host community? I don't think it's properly defined.
So you think it's ambiguous?
Yeah,
it should be broken down.
I don't think it's properly defined because there are some communities, like my communities, lands were actually acquired from them by what's it called, the IOCs. And there are some communities that are imparted communities that you just have pipelines by the way. Not all Chakiris or all Ijos are from most communities. Not because I'm an Chakiri man now, that makes me from most community. There are some Chakiris that their community, they don't have oil. So who are you actually talking to? Who are you going to deal with? How are you going to put a framework for us to manage it?
These are very important questions you've raised, Chief Ayiri Emami. And the good thing, when we spoke to the SSA, the Senior Special Assistant on media to the President, Ayiri Emami, he was on this program, and he said the good thing is that, and even lawyers will say, it's not cast in stone. The act can also always be revisited. And I'm hoping that some of these concerns you have raised and some others are raising will also be looked into. Let me bring in Comrade Alex here. Comrade Alex, listening to Chief Ayiri, some key things he raised here, sabotage caused by the people, and I'm happy that he said that, which is very important here, that irrespective of what exactly it is, the people, the leaders are saying that, look, it's a shared blame. It's an issue of shared blame that some people in the community are part of the problems. Now, have you been able to start like an advocacy, in addition with what Chief Ayiri and some others are doing, to help, enlighten the people and say, wait a minute, if you did A and B, well, ultimately, yes, you will make money, but think about those that will die and those that may not even come to being in terms of human life, plant, aquatic life. Is your group, the Warri Interest Group, are you having that kind of advocacy, to enlighten the people to stem this and that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have done as much as we can, and we're still willing to do more. But like Chief Ayiri said, he was spot on in his analysis. He's a key player there. I am not. you know, because it's into oil and gas. I am not, but our own is to carry out advocacy, to look at the welfare of the people, the impact of whatever is happening there on the masses, on the people. That is our own concern. And like he said, what is happening there, the environmental degradation you're having there today, is a collective responsibility, you know, from the IOC to the security, very important, the security, and then to the people who is described as hungry people, because you can't be by the river and soap will enter your eye and you will not use water to wash it off. That is exactly what is happening. But ultimately, who bear the brunt? It's those people who live there, who inhabit the place. Most of this IOC, they fly them in, fly them out. They don't live there. Even if they live there, they are far away inside Chevron Yard, you know, comfort zone. You know, it's like a tale of two cities. Just across, you see, it's like New York, it's like London. Then opposite, the host community.
But in all honesty, sorry to cut you there, I'll let you continue. Don't lose your train of thought. Because I also recall, because we've started this conversation long here on the show on VSA. And we also had this same conversation with the former TUC president, Peter Esele. And he raised a very important, you know, point. And he said, you know, sometimes some of the IOCs have people they speak to within the communities, the community liaison officers. So, and sometimes the same community liaison officers are the ones who shortchange their own people.
I won't agree with that. What the IOC do and what they have, they are professor in it and they have PhD in it is divide and rule. That's all they do. Just get some. The key people you think who have voice, get them to your side. They are less than 1%. 99%, you know, the masses, they don't have voice. And so I don't want to go there. It's just divide and rule tactics, if you will. But ultimately, what is happening there and bringing in the PIA, I believe the framework is already there, because a whole lot of things will be done. Commission will be set up. Agencies, that's authority, will be set up. These, I hope in constituting these organs, you know, that will bring force to the act itself, because the act cannot act on its own. It is people that will bring it to life. I hope it will not be politicized, because this is a federal government initiative. I hope square peg will be put in square hole, and that people will not be bogged down by politics and bureaucracy. They should know that, and that's why I said in my opening statement that I thought this should be more host community centric, not, you know, this bureaucracy, there's so much. Yes, the structures are already there. I'm looking forward to the commission that is enabled in the Act to be set up and it will be constituted by people. I'm looking forward to the authority. That is like another sub-agency within the...
Let me butt in here before I come to Chief Ayiri. Quickly, candidly, and, you know, frankly speaking, do you think that the issue or the problem with the Niger Delta has been the federal government or the leaders of the region?
I think it's both. Like I said before, it's a collective responsibility, but one leads to the other.
Looks like the man who is also into politics and business of oil and gas. Chief Ayiri wants to give us a clue.
Sulaiman, let me come in here. You know, when people say the community liaison officers who stand within the community and what's it called? The IOC. They are the one actually causing the problem. Sulaiman, I don't want to believe that, because I'm a key player when it comes to that. But there is something I need to tell you. If the IOC said, today we have this XYZ budget to develop your community, and I don't think anybody would say, don't use this money for road. Let me tell you, you will be involved in when you were in Channel. In 2011, we did a shutdown, a gas pipeline that was to take gas from Escravos to power the entire country. And during their environmental AIA, or what do you call it?
Impact assessment.
Yeah, they briefed talked about the project they want to do, the reason why they want to lay this pipe, and then Mr. President, the former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, was now telling Nigeria that in so time Nigeria is going to have 10 megawatts, XYZ megawatts. And the village where you are going to get this gas from, there's no light. And what would you do? Instead of sabotaging, we told Chevron, you are not going to hook up. You are not going to hook up, except we have light. You have to step down this light. Yes, we do business with Chevron. After that, people come from different places and do business. They come with just their portfolio and go back. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be patronized.
But on that electricity issue, was that done?
No, listen. On that note, the people at Aim of Affair then, the former governor and everybody was coming to us and said, no, okay, you supposed to allow this place, this sport to go on, we'll sit down. We said no. And they flew some of us to the villa. Then Alhaji Sambo was the vice president, so they now had to set up a committee. And at that note, both Ijo and Shakiri, when I said the only way we can evacuate, we must put something on paper to show that this light, in 18 months, we are going to have the light. And at the end of the day, because of our pressure and refusal to leave, they have to do that. So we expected that before 2014, 2015, there are about 32, 40-something community in the Riverine, the host community, were supposed to be powered. But politics came, they could not. But the good thing is that they already had a commitment within ourselves, NNPC, and Chevron. So by the end of the day, we keep on pushing, keep on pushing. Today, I think the project is 90%. No, let me say 70%.
You know, I recall.
This, what I'm trying to say is that who are the people that did that? Are the community people who said we must have light. But people will go around and said, oh, the community people are the people even causing the problem. Just show me one project you intend to execute in my community that a community man has said, no, give me the money and don't execute the project. When they were trying to build the EGTL that in what's it called? Maybe I think 1987 or thereabout, they go to people and said, look, before you do, look at our place. It's washing out by the ocean. So what you need to do for us, some field somewhere so that you rebuild. They are supposed to put some certain amenities in the place. That's infrastructures and everything. What did they do? They some field and they paid the money into an, escrow account. And at the end of the day, when they want to cause problem in our community, then I was the chairman of the, RDC. They went around, because they have their way of doing their things. Maybe you are too tough for them. They went around, start telling people that we've eaten the money that they paid there. You understand? But at the end of the day, that caused a lot of bloodshed and everything. I'm telling you the kind of thing they'll do. That caused a lot of bloodshed, even when people know that the money is there.
You know, I recall this. Let me come in here so that I can make, bring some clarity to this. I recall your part in 2011, yes, with former President Goodluck Jonathan, and how the then governor of your state, Dr. Odwaha, all that they did to ensure that the country didn't experience a shutdown. I still remember that. And I have also paid a personal, visit to a place called Finima around the Bonny Island, that was even when the construction was still on about the Bodo, bridge. And I saw even some shanties with electricity and even air conditioners. I'm coming. And I asked, and I said, how? And I was made to understand that LNG is also providing free electricity for the people around that access. Perhaps that's what he wanted for his people, and say, look, you must first give us electricity. You don't take it,
that's exactly.
Immediately take it far off where we're in the dark. But what the people are saying when they say people from the region are the ones sabotaging, for instance, look at NDDC. Since the inception of NDDC, those heading that agency, supposed to be an interventionist agency, are people from the region. And Chief Ayiri started by saying, he's excited that the minister, Mr. Akpabio, is on the forensic audit, waiting for the forensic audit. If all was good with NDDC, there wouldn't even be an audit in the first place. So now let's start asking questions of, as a son of the region, Chief Ayiri, you have a whole lot to play. Same with you, Alex. And we were very excited when you were coming, and a lot of people have sent in messages expecting to hear, what you have to say about the region. Before we go on the break, let's establish this. For instance, let me come to you, Comrade Alex, because I also come to Chief Ayiri, because we need to also ask some key things as a traditional man, some things happening in his region. Yeah, I see him smiling, and he's been in the news. Comrade Alex, you know that. But quickly here, Comrade Alex, the 30% allocation of profits of the NNPC to the frontier exploration basins hasn't actually, settled well with most Niger Deltans. Yeah. They still think that perhaps that should have also gone into the 3% as highlighted by Chief Ayiri. So what do you expect? What are those things? Because the conversations will continue. It has not ended. So if you were to be in that fora, what would be your suggestion as to how to go about this?
No, for me, I align myself with the Niger Delta leaders who, disagree completely. But I personally disagree too, because I think it's part of the injustice we talk about. I mean, you can't give 3% to the host communities, and you're giving 30% somewhere for futuristic thing, if I can put it that way, for exploration that you may never find a pint of oil anywhere. But you give 30% and you give 3% to the host communities. I think that's very unfair, and I will align myself. I will join in the protest against that when that time comes.
You think that there's going to be a protest?
But it's already, the signals are there. The leaders have spoken. They've issued a statement that 30% is unacceptable to them. 3% is unacceptable to them. I mean, these are, I'm not saying, yes, we can take the 3% for now, but the 30% for me, and the reason that 30% is being given to the North to explore, for exploration, he said, no. And I don't think it's proper. I don't think it's proper. I think it's very, very unbalanced and unfair to the Niger Delta people. Like I said, it's futuristic.
Well, we'll take a moment. For those just joining us, this is VSA here on News Central Television, and we're looking at developing the Niger Delta region, and we have two key individuals, a traditional chief who's also a businessman and politician with us here, Chief Ayiri Emami, and an activist, Comrade Alex Eyengho. When we come back, we're looking deeply and see how we can provide more solution to the development in that region. Well, it's a home run here on VSA, on News Central Television. The Niger Delta Development is an issue that is regional yet national. You know, as it is a region that is the pot of soup of Nigeria, it is one held with absolute importance. But as a result of oil spillage happening for more than 50 years, various generations and groups of people have fought tooth and nail with oil companies and the Nigerian government. There are many cases in foreign courts about the exploration activities of oil companies and destruction of the environment and the source of livelihood of Niger Delta locals. Now, these problems have gone hardly controlled, and the people still wallow in pain. The problems in the region also include pipeline vandalism, militancy, maritime insecurity, and other security challenges, which the leaders are considered vital in finding their solutions. I still have with me Chief Ayiri Emami and Comrade Alex Eyengho. And now, quickly, let's start off. Before that, break, we were talking about some of the key things here, and you made reference to vandalism, pollution, which you say is a shared blame. You know, some people within the communities have actually done damage to the pipelines. But if you look at the PIA has a new deal right there, where it says that the host communities will bear the brunt of pipeline vandalism. So as leaders in the region, how do you hope to rally the youth to avoid, vandalism? Because now they're making the people say, hey, you have to be responsible. Yeah. You have to protect your own property.
For us to move forward, you have to make an alternative. And that's why you have to have a proper structure in the PIA, whereby, when I say alternative, things that are supposed to be made available, infrastructures, to be made available, good school, good water. Because for an instance, I always say it, from Warri to Escravos with a local boat will take you about 6 to 8 hours. And at this stretch, you won't see a gas station where you have how many millions of Deltans living. So, for once, I've always been advocating that NNPC and the federal government and the IOC have to team up to make an alternative for this.
What happened to the floating gas, gas stations?
Well, we only have one at Okerenkoko.
Just one.
And that one at Okerenkoko, means of taking the product there is not made available. If you go to Europe, you have badges, self-propelled badges, that will go to the refineries and fetch the products and take them back to these places. Ours, none. So you can see the level of suffering, and that's why I don't blame those that carry out this illegal refinery, because from here to Escravos now, a liter of fuel might be selling for 500 or 600 at the end of the day. And in normal fisherman will go to sea with his engine, and when you come back, you can see the cost of everything. So for us to avert vandalism and all this, you must try and make some things available and ensure that the appropriate people that will come and govern this PIA, if you have a structure in place, are people of good conscience who have the region at heart. Because you are, like you say, NDDC have been in place. But you go to my place now, from Madao to Gidigbe, is washing into the ocean. We've done series of protests, we've done all these, we've shut down the Chevron, Shell, and what they will tell you, we contributed our quota to NDDC. There's nothing you can do. At the end of the day, they talk to you. Meanwhile, people will be fighting community leaders, maybe because of one or two little patronage. And those patronage have been done to by outside people that are not from your community. So the major problem we are having is that the government, for us to avert all this problem, they must try to make an alternative, what's it called? How will I say it? Alternative process where these people can actually get what they want.
If I bring Comrade Alex, let me stay with you, Chief Ayiri. Looking at this clause, talking about the people, protecting,
Protecting the pipeline.
Is it?
Let me
I was going to ask.
Let me tell you,
Can they actually protect?
I've been involved in protection of pipeline before now. At the time, I decided to pull out because.
Why was that?
Yeah, let me tell you. If you said I should protect the pipeline and somebody is being paid 30,000 naira, maybe as minimal wage as is required in NNPC, because NNPC might tell you, oh, we don't want to pay more than this at the time we're doing it. And you engage some of your community persons that, okay, at the end of the month, you are going to have 30,000 naira as stipulated in your contract. And in ninth, that man would make about 2.something million. So what do you expect? Even the person you are paying the money will be part of those that will sabotage the line. Because of hardship. And that's why in 2015, 2016, when I had the opportunity, sat with Mr. President, and I said, no, I don't think this is the best option. The best option is for us to make an alternative, make these people have what they need to have in their community. Because they will go and buy water, common water to bathe. At the time, they will go and buy the water. You understand? So you can't even plant, there's no farming around, so because things will not germinate because of the spill of the, what's it called? Crude oil. Although the IOC has their own problem because they're causing a lot of, environmental pollution. I don't have to put the blame on my community people because before now, the IOC, I can't be living, if you see Chevron and you see my community, it's like heaven and hell. If you come at night, you're looking at Chevron, you want to have the photograph, then you go the other way, you get my community, total darkness, maybe you can see. So with that alone, you can be sometimes be very agitated and be very, very angry. And it doesn't take them anything to put those things in order.
I think quickly
because
here.
You wake up in the morning, you'll be seeing flight coming from Lagos to Escravos. So what stopped the community person traveling from that place to Lagos?
Let me bring in comment.
I don't know whether I'm making any sense.
You're making point, but one other point I should also establish has to do with the allegation that the IOCs sometimes, when they decide to embark on, developing some of these communities, some people come up and say, hey, can we have the money? We'll fix it. Give us the money. Let us, get the contract done. And that is why sometimes these communities are not developed. I'm quite sure you must have heard that argument.
Well, for me, I look at things by the book, If, assuming without conceding that that is true, you understand whose responsibility it is to, prosecute those involved. You see, talk is cheap. If you say, if I give you a contract now, Sulaiman, and give you a contract of 10 million, paid you, and you did not deliver, I will get you arrested, and I will get you prosecuted. How many people, how many of such people that they are claiming they give money to or they give award contract to and they did not deliver, how many of them have been so prosecuted? It shows that there is a connivance So I don't buy that.
Connivance between
the IOCs, between the security, between that's why you don't get prosecution.
And between some people within the community.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't run away from that.
That is what I'm saying, because they want it so. It's all divide and rule. It's all divide and rule.
Sulaiman, let me come in here. If you see, when they say they give contract to community people, like my community, because I will take myself, my place as an example. As an example. We have a structure in place by Chevron, that is the IRDC. And this IRDC, money are being paid into the IRDC to develop the community. And at the time, I was the chairman of IRDC. And when I was chairman, I thought maybe when I got there, I was going to make a lot of money. I could remember very well that I suggested to the former governor, I did a presentation to the former governor that he should use the model of the IRDC. Because the model that we had there, before you can take money out of the IRDC, the government have to sign, Chevron have to sign, then you, the chairman, and the treasurer from the community have to sign. So if there's any misappropriation of funds, and no Chevron staff will want to get himself in that, because if he does that, his benefit and long-term service is going to lose everything. So even you can see the little development we have in our community today in terms of housing unit, will be built by that little money brought by Chevron to this RODC. So if they've had this in place long time before now, you understand, wouldn't have been having this complaint. But the fund in question today is not much. The fund, maybe we have about 23 communities, for instance, in Chevron, what's it called, RODC. Then in a year, you now say, or in 2 years, you now say, you give them 2 billion. I don't know whether you understand. Okay. These are the money we're talking about. You say you give them 2 billion. Okay, chair. Sulaiman, share these 2 billion now into 23 communities. Just do the mathematics. Some you will be seeing 60 million. And some places they need about, they need housing, what's it called? They are putting in for housing. Some are saying they want jetty. And for you to construct jetty alone, some will cost you about 300 to 400 million. No community will have that. So, but they will tell you this is what they can put in there. So at the end of the day, we go to town, oh, we paid 2 billion or 6 billion for how many communities? And what are the projects? So in that case, we cannot execute any good project or put a reasonable infrastructure. So, but the model itself, the model itself, Sulaiman, I bet you, is fantastic. No matter how, what's it called? You said you are this or you are this. For you to get money out of it, and that's some of the things some of us will recommend for the PIA.
I wanted us to talk quickly about the recommendation because we're closing now, we're winding down. Yeah. You know, what are those things that should be done? Now we're talking about buck passing, going back and forth, talking about, you've both identified the issues here. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, it's with the IOC, sometimes within the, within the people, the communities, some other time a little bit of politics, and some other time corruption. That's, that is why we're looking at NDDC now. But so these don't form another conversation that we'll be having maybe another 5-10 years down the line. What are those key things you think, Nigeria or the region should be having? What kind of conversation should they be having with the government at the center?
What kind of conversation we need to be having? To me, I don't want, for an example, if you want to appoint somebody into NDDC, it doesn't have to be somewhere you use to compensate who has worked for you. You need to bring somebody that you know that had the people at hand and really want to work. But what we have today is different. And when the political party is in charge, he wants to see that the people at the top want their loyalists to be at the helm of affairs. So at the end of the day, money meant for the region, maybe people that from different parts who are not even from the region, you will now be using the money to service those people. That was some of the basic, we assisted you to get into this office. You understand? Because maybe you didn't merit it to be as the MD of the board. So if we can said, oh, today this man, Sulaiman, is qualified, is from this region, he can transform the region, and we all agree that Sulaiman should go there. Without fear or favor, Sulaiman knows that he's coming to work. So our problem now is like NDDC is somewhere you're using compensating politicians. So
now we're talking about politics. I'm trying to wrap up quickly with time. Apologies, for cutting you there. Let me quickly bring this. Now you're talking about politicians, and 2023 is around the corner. You're among the very first few people who jumped ship. Yes, when a lot of people in your region were still deeply rooted in the PDP. They saw Chief Ayiri going to the APC to give President Buhari that big support. Now the conversation around 2023 is on, and people are saying we need someone from some certain region. If you were given the opportunity, as I've so given now, to tell us which region you think the next president should come from, where will that be?
Basically, Sulaiman, you know me. I'll say it as it is. At the time, we all supported the North. And at this time, we expect the North to support the South. You understand? So, for me, without fear or favor, I'm going to say it. If somebody from the North is coming out, my own is to tell the president or tell the people that they are not being fair to us. Because at the moment, it should be our turn. Although it's not in our constitution. And then some quarters normally say, those actions cause a lot of problems. That's why Nigeria is not being developed. And yes, in America, you look at it, they rotate it somehow, but it doesn't show. But ours, we're still growing and we're still learning. So we must have the sense of belonging. So I think it's our region now, the South-South, you understand, to produce the next president for 2023.
And you had the former President Ibrahim Babangida give an idea, a sense of the age where this person or this person should be. Around 60, does it fit into any personality?
No, I don't want to talk about the age at the moment. If we have the young ones, okay, because some of these young ones are worse than the old men. I can say it. I'm a young man. I know what I go through in the hands of my peers. You understand? Some of them doesn't have the character to even govern anywhere. You understand? It's not that for instance, you can see what happened in NSAS. There was no leadership because they don't even trust themselves.
Talking about...
I don't know. I don't know whether you understand. So, because some of this problem comes for all the young men. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Everybody, this government is bad, this government is bad, but you want to sit at home.
And that is why, and I'm sure you've been following...
So, and when you see the old men, they will come out, and say, yes, we want to do it. And the old men, they will support themselves.
And let me quickly drop this because, again, first I'll say congratulations because in Nigeria, traditionally, your community, your people have been able to produce also a young man, the Ologbosere of Warri. And you've been mired in almost all the issues before that fantastic coronation.
Suleiman, that's not why I'm here today.
But you know people will not pardon me if I don't ask you to give us a sense of your
Suleiman, I
support.
think we'll take that issue for another day. I can come here personally for another day. We'll have discussed. You want to know more about my people. You want to know more about my institution. You understand? So I can tell you more.
So
but as it is today,
Africa is watching. So you're giving me, you're making me a promise.
Yes. We can take another date for that, and so that I can come. I will be very, very, very equipped when I'm talking to you. Because I'll say it as it is. You understand? I'm not against young people, because as you see me, I'm a young man. Yeah, I started very early in terms of going around the street. I'm a proper somebody that went through, although my father was actually, my father did very well for himself, so that's not the issue. You understand? But as for me, I went out on my own to go and join my peers in the street. So I know what it is to get to where I am. So we'll take that issue for another day. It's a very beautiful one.
It's very beautiful, and it's a fine place for us to wrap up the show today. And Chief Ayiri just made us a promise, and that's a promise he has to keep. He will come back and tell us about all
the Warri Kingdom,
the Warri Kingdom, and his role in in the making of a king. I'd like to say thank you very much for being such a nice company, Chief Ayiri Emami, the Ologbosere of Warri Kingdom. Thank you for your time. And of course, Comrade Alex Eyengho, many thanks for being such a nice company. Well, that's it. The issues laid bare, the plans mapped out. Hopefully, we see a better region, and the years to come will see the Niger Delta according to its riches and become what it deserves. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.